This video will look at how to educate students with a disability in an inclusionary setting. First things first, what is inclusion? Well, to have a fully included classroom means to have all students in general education, regardless of the presence, type, or severity of disability. Some school districts are now pushing for full inclusion, so it is important for everyone, not just those with a special education background, to be aware of what inclusion is and how to make inclusion successful. There are many important steps in making inclusion successful. One crucial component of a successful inclusion is to make sure that everyone involved with the included child or children supports the decision to include them in a general education classroom. For instance, the general education teacher should believe that the student can succeed. The staff needs to be committed to accepting the responsibility for the learning outcomes of the student with a disability and must understand the needs of children with disabilities. The school personnel and other students in the class must be prepared to receive a student with disabilities, and the school should provide awareness and acceptance programs so they can understand what having a student with disabilities in their class will be like. Some students may not have ever met a student with special needs, or vice versa. The child with special needs may not have ever met a child without needs. As we all know, kids can be cruel and may use any excuse to make fun of someone who is different. By creating acceptance programs and implementing them at an early age, children may not be so cruel when they are older. Children's parents or guardians should be informed of and support the program goals, and the special education staff needs to be committed to collaborative practices in the general education class. Another key part of the process is to make sure that students' needs are met. Services the student may need, such as physical or occupational therapy, must be available. Also, any accommodation to the physical environment and equipment must meet the student's needs. For example, a child may need assistive technology or adjustments to the classroom setup to facilitate their education and mobility. These adjustments must be made. The school should have an adequate number of personnel, including aides and support staff, available to meet the child's needs, and should also provide plenty of staff development and technical assistance meetings, such as instructional methods training and team building activities based on the needs of the staff and the student. Appropriate policies and procedures for monitoring individual student progress, including grading and testing, should be in place. However, assessment techniques and instruction should be modified for those students with special needs, and students of all ability levels should have their needs met. There needs to be a great deal of collaboration between the general education and special education departments, and the special education department should be a part of the instruction and planning team. This form of teaming approach is used for problem solving and program implementation. General education and special education teachers, along with other specialists, need to collaborate, for example, using co-teaching. The teacher should learn the characteristics of students with special needs and learn the legislation regarding the student with special needs, as well as develop a willingness to teach these students and foster acceptance of these students. The general education teacher should participate in planning and implementing of the child's individualized education plan, or IEP. As with any student, but especially when dealing with children with special needs, the teacher should always accentuate the positive things that a student can do and always motivate that student to do the best that they can. Teachers should foster a cooperative learning environment and promote socialization. Teachers should also have the skills and knowledge needed to select and adapt curricula and instructional methods according to each student's needs. A variety of instructional arrangements need to be available, and the range of learning behaviors should be broadened because not everyone learns the same way. Teachers should use concrete materials and examples, multisensory methods, and direct instruction to educate students with disabilities. The teacher should make the learning environment an enjoyable place and have a daily schedule posted. Parents should be encouraged to be involved with what their child is doing and volunteer to help at school functions. Finally, the teacher should use cooperative learning goals. The 5 elements of the cooperative learning goals are positive interdependence, face-to-face interaction, individual accountability, small group skills, and group processing. The elements are further explained on page 309 of our textbook. On page 159, there is a great example of an observation checklist for inclusive classrooms that teachers can use to see if their classroom will accommodate students with special needs. With all of these tips, you should have no problem educating students in an inclusionary setting. I hope this video has been helpful and informative.